Humanity walked away from galactic politics and the universe freaked out. Part 1, The Great Withdrawal. Greg Harrison stood at the podium facing hundreds of alien delegates. The grand chamber of the Galactic Confederation buzzed with the usual political chatter. Species from across the stars filled the room with their unique bodies, smells, and translators. After 5 years as Earth's ambassador, Greg no longer noticed the strangeness. What once seemed magical now felt tedious. He tapped the microphone. The chamber quieted. Representatives of the Galactic Confederation, I come before you today with Earth's final address as a political member. The translator devices around the room buzzed as they processed his words. Then came the wave of reaction, clicking mandibles, flashing skin colors, and rumbling voices. To be clear, Greg continued, humanity is not cutting ties with galactic civilization. We will maintain all trade agreements. Cultural exchanges will continue. We welcome visitors to our system and will continue peaceful exploration. We simply withdraw from all political bodies, effective immediately. Chaos erupted. The Vrellan representative Zeth Kor rushed forward to the speaking platform. Ambassador Harrison, you cannot be serious. This must be some negotiation tactic. Greg shook his head. It's not. The decision is final. Behind him, Olivia Wright stood calmly. As Earth's chief strategic advisor, she had spent 18 months crafting the solitude doctrine that guided this moment. Her data was clear. Humanity gained nothing from galactic politics while wasting enormous resources. The older species, with their centuries of experience, always outmaneuvered humans in the political arena. The Confederation president, a tall blue-skinned being, banged his gravity gavel. The room quieted again. Ambassador Harrison, no species has ever voluntarily left the Confederation. There isn't even a process for this, I must ask. Have we offended Earth somehow? Greg smiled slightly. Not at all, President Krax. We simply find that galactic politics doesn't suit our nature. In 5 years, we've attended thousands of meetings, joined hundreds of committees, and signed countless agreements. Yet we've accomplished almost nothing of value. He gestured to the room. This body has spent 3 years debating the proper color for emergency beacons. Meanwhile, border conflicts continue. Resource shortages grow worse and inequality between developed and developing worlds increases. Olivia stepped forward. Our scientists estimate we've spent 8 million human work hours on political matters, with no measurable benefit to Earth or the galaxy. We've decided those hours would be better spent elsewhere. A small, furry delegate near the front stood on his chair. But humans are the best mediators we have. Your unique perspective has resolved dozens of deadlocks. Thank you, Representative Folks, Greg said. We're glad to have helped, but we've noticed something interesting. Issues only seem to resolve when we threaten to leave the discussion. So we're taking that approach to its logical conclusion. The display behind Greg lit up with statistics and graphs. Olivia had prepared thorough documentation showing how humanity's participation had benefited other species far more than Earth. We've shared this data with all member worlds, she explained. Earth ships are already departing from diplomatic outposts across Confederation space. This isn't the start of a negotiation, it's simply a notification. The room exploded again. Some delegates shouted threats, others made desperate promises of concessions. A few simply sat in stunned silence. Zeth Kor approached Greg as the chaos continued. The Vrellan's skin had turned a pale yellow, a sign of extreme distress in his species. Greg, please, we've worked together for years, you can't just leave. Greg placed a hand on Zeth Kor's shoulder, careful to avoid the sensitive spots. I value our friendship, Zeth, that won't change. But my government has made its decision. The Doraxians will seize power the moment you leave, Zeth Kor whispered. They've been waiting for any sign of weakness. Perhaps. But that's for the remaining members to handle. President Krax finally restored order by activating the chamber's calming field, a technology that gently suppressed emotional responses. Greg frowned. He hated that device. It seemed to represent everything wrong with the Confederation, using technology to avoid dealing with real problems. Ambassador Harrison, Krax said formally, I request an emergency meeting with Earth's leadership before this withdrawal proceeds further. Olivia stepped forward. I'm afraid that won't be possible. President Walsh is unavailable and our decision is not open to discussion. At that moment, thousands of human diplomats across the galaxy were delivering the same message to their host, worlds. Earth's vast diplomatic network, built painstakingly over 5 years, was dissolving itself in a single coordinated action. As Greg and Olivia prepared to leave the chamber, emergency alerts began flooding the Confederation networks. Markets were crashing across 3 sectors. A minor border dispute between the Mreki and Velocians had suddenly escalated to a military standoff. The peacekeeping force there, primarily human, had just announced their withdrawal. You see what you're causing? A tall insectoid delegate hissed at Greg. This is irresponsible. Greg paused at the exit. No, what's irresponsible is building systems that depend entirely on one species. We joined the galactic community only 5 years ago. If everything falls apart without us, then the system was already broken. Back on their ship, Greg slumped into his chair. The diplomatic terminal flashed with hundreds of incoming messages. He ignored them all. Do you think we're doing the right thing? He asked Olivia. She nodded firmly. Humanity spent too much of its history fighting itself. We finally achieved peace at home, only to get dragged into everyone else's conflicts. Out here. She gestured at the viewport where the massive Confederation station slowly shrank as they pulled away. We need to focus on building our own future, not managing ancient alien feuds. The ship's communication officer interrupted. Ambassador, President Krax is threatening economic sanctions against Earth if we don't return to negotiations. Greg laughed softly. And that's exactly why we're leaving. Tell him Earth will match any sanction with equal trade restrictions. He knew Earth could survive without Confederation trade if necessary. Some luxury goods would disappear, but humanity had lived without alien imports for thousands of years. As their ship accelerated away from the station, they watched the emergency lights begin flashing across its surface. The great political heart of the galaxy was having a panic attack. They'll adjust, Olivia said. They existed before us. They'll manage after us. Greg wasn't so sure. In just 5 years, humanity had become the glue holding together too many fragile agreements. He wondered what would break first. Set course for Earth, he told the pilot. Let's go home. Behind them, the first reports of serious unrest were already spreading across the galaxy. The universe was beginning to freak out. Humanity walked away from galactic politics and the universe freaked out. Part 2. The ripple effect. Linda Carter guided her trading ship into the busy spaceport on Vega Station. 3 months had passed since Earth's withdrawal from galactic politics, and the effects were showing everywhere. The docking manager, a 4-armed Palaxian, waved her into Bay 12 instead of her usual spot. Sorry, human, he buzzed through the translator. Emergency diplomatic vessels took your regular bay. Linda nodded. Since the withdrawal, every spaceport seemed crowded with emergency diplomatic meetings. She found it funny. Before the withdrawal, most aliens barely noticed human traders. Now they all stared as she walked through the station. After securing her ship, Linda headed to her regular client, a Dravidi merchant who bought Earth coffee. As she walked, 3 different aliens stopped her. Is it true humans are building a superweapon? Asked a nervous Zilby. No, Linda said firmly. We just got tired of endless meetings. The Zilby's eye stalks twitched in disbelief. No species could possibly walk away from power just because they were bored. The Dravidi merchant seemed genuinely happy to see her. Linda, I feared you wouldn't come. Why wouldn't I? Business is business, she replied, unloading the coffee containers. The merchant lowered his voice. 7 trade routes have collapsed since your people left the politics. The Traxians and Volk are at each other's throats again. The peacekeeping fleet at Gamma Junction is gone, and now pirates control the area. Linda frowned. Those were mostly human peacekeepers. Earth called them home. Exactly, everything is falling apart. The merchant's scales flickered with anxiety. What is Earth's real plan? Everyone knows this must be a strategy to gain more power. Linda laughed. You don't understand humans very well. We really did just get tired of wasting our time. The merchant clearly didn't believe her. No one did. As Linda continued her trading route over the next week, she heard dozens of wild theories about Earth's true motives. Everyone thought humanity must have some clever scheme. The idea that humans simply walked away out of frustration didn't make sense to species that had played politics for thousands of years. Back on Earth, Paul Martinez reviewed the latest intelligence reports in his office at the Defense Department. The wall screens showed flashing trouble spots across the galaxy. 3 separate trade disputes had escalated to military standoffs. The Duraxians had attempted to take control of a strategic space lane previously monitored by human forces. The Confederation Council had deadlocked on 17 important votes in the past week alone. His assistant entered with another update. "Sir, the Vrellan ambassador is requesting another emergency meeting." Paul sighed. "Tell him the same thing we told the others. We're happy to discuss trade, cultural exchanges, or scientific cooperation. We will not discuss returning to Confederation politics." "Yes, sir. Also, our monitoring stations have detected increased military ship production in 17 different systems. This was concerning but not surprising. Without human mediators keeping the peace, many species were preparing for possible conflicts. Earth's defenses had been strengthened as well, though Paul hoped they wouldn't be needed. A call came through on his secure line. It was Olivia Wright, who had become Earth's unofficial expert on the withdrawal's effects. "Have you seen the latest? From the Krelvos broadcasts?" she asked without greeting. Paul switched one of his screens to the feed. Krelvos, an ambitious Doraxian politician, was giving a fiery speech to his supporters. The translation caption scrolled beneath his image. "The humans have abandoned their responsibility. The Doraxian Empire will fill this leadership void and bring order to the galaxy." Paul smiled grimly. He's been saying this for weeks. How's it working out for him? "Not well," Olivia replied. "He tried to force through 3 resolutions in the Confederation Council yesterday. All failed. Without human diplomats to smooth things over, he can't build the coalitions he needs." "And how is the Confederation handling things overall?" Olivia's face grew serious. "Badly. They've scheduled an emergency economic summit for next week. Projections show a 20% decline in cross-species trade if current trends continue." Paul wasn't surprised. Humans had become key middlemen in many trading relationships, trusted by species that distrusted each other. Without human guarantees, old suspicions were returning. "Any regrets about the withdrawal?" Paul asked. Olivia paused before answering. "None officially, but privately, I didn't expect things to destabilize this quickly." As they spoke, Linda Carter's trading ship approached another outpost, this one at the edge of Confederation space. She was surprised to find it nearly abandoned. Usually, this station buzzed with activity. The station manager, a small rodent-like alien, explained the situation. "Most traders have rerouted to safer paths. With no peacekeepers, this region isn't secure anymore." "Has it really gotten that bad?" Linda asked. The manager nodded sadly. 3 ships disappeared last month. The Confederation sent investigators, but they argued among themselves and accomplished nothing. Linda felt a twinge of guilt. Before the withdrawal, a human-led response team would have solved this problem quickly. Now, without human mediators, the various species couldn't even agree on basic security measures. She checked the news feeds while refueling. 17 different sectors reported increasing tensions. The Galactic Economic Index had fallen to its lowest point in 30 years. A minor religious dispute on a shared colony world had escalated to violence. As Linda prepared to leave, a group of young aliens approached her ship. They weren't hostile, just curious. "Is Earth accepting immigrants?" one asked hopefully. "My family has lived on this station for generations, but now it feels like everything is collapsing." Linda didn't know how to answer. Earth hadn't expected to become a safe haven in a destabilizing galaxy. They had just wanted to be left alone. Back on Earth, an urgent message arrived for President Susan Walsh. The Confederation Council had voted unanimously on something for the first time in years. They requested an emergency meeting with Earth's leadership, not to negotiate Earth's return, but to prevent a full-scale galactic economic collapse. The president read the message twice before responding. "Tell them I'll consider it, but I won't reverse our withdrawal." As she looked out her office window at the peaceful Earth landscape, Susan wondered how long that peace would last. They had walked away from galactic politics to protect Earth's interests. But if the galaxy fell into chaos, could Earth really remain untouched? The ripple effect of humanity's simple decision was growing into a wave that threatened to crash back onto Earth's shores. Humanity walked away from galactic politics and the universe freaked out. Part 3. Desperate measures. Frank Nichols watched the sunset from the porch of his Montana farmhouse. After 20 years as a diplomat, the peaceful rhythm of farm life suited him. He had retired when Earth withdrew from galactic politics 6 months ago. No more alien delegation meetings. No more translating cultural misunderstandings. Just his crops, his animals, and the big sky above. The sound of vehicles coming up his long driveway broke the evening quiet. 3 black government cars appeared, kicking up dust. Frank sighed. He had expected this might happen someday. A woman in a dark suit stepped out of the first car. "Mr. Nichols, I'm Agent Ellis from the State Department. President Walsh requests your presence in Geneva immediately." Frank scratched his beard. "I'm retired, Agent Ellis." "Sir, this is a matter of galactic security. A shuttle is waiting at the local airfield." 6 hours later, Frank found himself in Geneva, at Earth's main diplomatic facility. The building had been quieter since the withdrawal, but today it buzzed with activity. Security personnel were everywhere. Olivia Wright met him in the lobby. Frank had worked with her many times before his retirement. "Frank, thank you for coming," she said, looking tired. "Something unprecedented has happened." "Let me guess," Frank replied. "The Confederation is falling apart and now they want us back." Olivia smiled thinly. "Close. But it's more serious than we expected. They've sent their highest delegation. The eldest member of the Confederation Council is here personally." Frank stopped walking. "Trelaxar came to Earth? That's impossible." Trelaxar was over 900 years old. As the oldest living member of the Garlaxian species, he hadn't left his homeworld in over 4 centuries. His wisdom was legendary, but so was his stubborn refusal to travel. "He's here," Olivia confirmed, along with representatives from 15 major species. "They arrived at our solar system border yesterday requesting permission to enter." Frank followed Olivia to a large meeting room. President Susan Walsh was already there, along with Earth's top officials. They all looked concerned. "Frank," the president greeted him, "we need your expertise. You've dealt with Trelaxar before." "Only by long-distance communication," Frank clarified. "No human has met him in person." A side door opened, and the alien delegation entered. Frank immediately spotted Trelaxar. The ancient Garlaxian moved slowly, supported by a floating chair. His skin was pale blue, almost translucent with age. 4 younger aliens attended him carefully. After formal introductions, President Walsh opened the meeting. "Honored representatives, we welcome you to Earth. This is an unexpected visit." Trelaxar's voice was soft but clear. "Unexpected times. Call for unexpected measures, President Walsh. I come before you today because the galaxy faces collapse." The ancient alien gestured, and one of his assistants activated a holographic display. It showed graphs and data charts. "These are the projections from our best analysts," Trelaxar explained. "Without human participation, the Confederation will completely collapse within 2 years. 3 major conflicts have already begun. Trade has dropped by 30%. 17 minor species have lost their representation completely." The room was silent as the data displayed. Frank studied the numbers carefully. They were worse than he had imagined. Trelaxar continued. "We come today with an extraordinary request. The Confederation formally asks humanity to return to galactic politics." One of the other aliens, A tall insectoid added, "We are prepared to offer significant concessions. Humanity would have permanent seats on all major councils. Your votes would carry double weight on peacekeeping matters." President Walsh listened calmly. When they finished, she stood. "I appreciate your journey here and I understand your concerns. However, Earth's position remains unchanged. The Solitude Doctrine will continue." The aliens looked shocked. Even with the galaxy falling apart, humans were refusing to return. "But you haven't heard our full offer," another delegate protested. "The issue isn't about what you're offering," Walsh explained. "Humanity didn't withdraw to get better terms. We withdrew because the entire political system is fundamentally flawed." Trilaxar's ancient eyes studied her. "Then what would you suggest, President Walsh? Shall we simply allow civilization to collapse?" Frank watched the president closely. He knew Susan Walsh was a thoughtful leader who wouldn't have invited this delegation without having something to propose. "I have a counter-proposal," she said. "Earth will host a galactic summit. We will help restructure the Confederation into something more effective. But afterward, we will remain politically independent." The aliens murmured among themselves. This wasn't what they had expected. "You would help us rebuild the very system you abandoned?" asked Trilaxar. "We would help you build a better system," Walsh corrected. "One that doesn't require human participation to function properly." The meeting continued for hours. Frank was asked to explain specific human concerns with the Confederation structure. He described the endless committees, the political games, and the way older species manipulated the system. "The Confederation was designed by immortal or very long-lived species," Frank explained. "For beings who live for centuries, spending decades on a single issue seems reasonable. For humans, it's an unacceptable waste of our limited lifespans." As the meeting ended, the aliens looked uncertain. Trilaxar spoke privately with Frank as the others filed out. "I have lived for 9 centuries, Mr. Nichols. I have seen civilizations rise and fall, but I have never seen anything like humanity's withdrawal. You had finally gained influence in our political systems only to walk away voluntarily." Frank smiled. "That's because influence wasn't what we wanted." "What did you want?" the ancient alien asked. "Results," Frank replied simply. "We wanted to solve problems, not manage them endlessly." After the delegation departed to consider Earth's proposal, Frank met with President Walsh and Olivia Wright. "They'll accept," Frank predicted. "They're desperate." "And when they do," Walsh said, "we'll need you to lead our summit team. You understand both sides better than anyone." Frank looked out the window at the peaceful Earth landscape. "I was enjoying my retirement. Just one more mission," Olivia said. "Help us build a system that works without us, and then you can return to your farm for good." 2 days later, the alien delegation sent their response. They accepted Earth's proposal with one condition: the summit must begin within 30 days, before more damage was done to the galactic community. As preparations began, Earth's silent diplomatic channels suddenly buzzed with activity. Every species wanted private meetings before the summit. They wanted special considerations, advantages, and insights into humanity's strategy. Frank found himself back in diplomatic meetings explaining the same thing repeatedly. Humans never wanted galactic power. They just wanted to be left alone. Yet somehow, by walking away, humanity had gained more influence than ever before. The universe had indeed freaked out when humanity left. Now it was practically begging them to come back. Humanity walked away from galactic politics and the universe freaked out. Part 4. The summit Geneva sparkled under the summer sun as ships from across the galaxy arrived in Earth's orbit. 8 months after humanity's withdrawal from galactic politics, Earth had become the center of the universe's attention. Representatives from 126 spacefaring civilizations had come for the summit to rebuild the Galactic Confederation. Samantha Lewis reviewed her notes one final time. As Earth's brilliant political architect, she had spent months designing a new structure for galactic cooperation. Her office overlooked Lake Geneva, where security boats patrolled the water. Having so many powerful aliens on the planet made everyone nervous. A knock on her door announced Daniel Cohen, Earth's security chief. His expression was serious as always. "Another issue, Samantha. The Duraxian and Vrellan delegations are refusing to stay in the same building." Samantha sighed. "Put them at opposite ends of the city and double the security teams between them." Daniel nodded. "That's 3 similar problems this morning. I've never seen so many ancient enemies in one place." "That's the point," Samantha replied. "They've come because they're desperate. The irony isn't lost on anyone. Humanity gained more influence by walking away than we ever had as participants." The main summit was scheduled to begin the next day. Tonight, a welcome reception would bring all the delegates together for the first time. Security teams had been planning for months. 3 separate assassination attempts had already been stopped before the delegates even reached Earth. That evening, the grand reception hall of the United Earth government filled with the galaxy's most powerful beings. Translators hummed quietly, as hundreds of languages mixed in the air. President Walsh gave a short welcome speech, careful not to promise anything beyond hosting the summit. In a quiet corner, Envex, a young Centauri diplomat, approached Samantha. Unlike most aliens who viewed humans with either desperation or resentment, Envex seemed genuinely curious. "Your design for the new Confederation structure is impressive," Envex said softly. "I've studied the preview materials. You've built a system that works without human participation." Samantha was surprised. Few delegates had bothered to read the detailed proposals before the formal presentations. "That was the goal," she acknowledged. "A system that doesn't depend on any single species." Envex looked around to ensure no other aliens were listening. "I must confess something. Many younger diplomats admire what humanity has done." "Admire our withdrawal?" Samantha asked, surprised. Envex nodded. "The older generations are horrified, but those of us who entered diplomacy more recently, we've discussed following your example. My people have wasted centuries on pointless committees while real problems go unsolved." This revelation shocked Samantha. They had assumed humanity's withdrawal would be seen as a selfish act, not as inspiration for others. "Have you shared these thoughts with your government?" she asked. "Not yet. But after this summit, several younger species plan to propose similar limited engagement models for ourselves." Envex's translator conveyed excitement in his tone. Humanity might not just reform the Confederation but fundamentally change how civilizations interact across the galaxy. Before Samantha could respond, alarms blared throughout the building. Daniel Cohen's security team moved swiftly, surrounding key delegates. President Walsh was quickly escorted from the room. "Security breach in the eastern section," a voice announced over the communication system. "All delegates, please remain with your assigned security personnel." It was the first of 3 security incidents that night. A group of extremists from the Trill Alliance had attempted to disrupt the proceedings. Earth had become a strange neutral ground where ancient enemies were forced to cooperate, but not everyone wanted the summit to succeed. The next morning, despite the security concerns, the summit officially began. Samantha presented her proposal for restructuring the Confederation, a system designed to function without human participation. The new structure emphasizes practical problem-solving over political maneuvering, she explained to the assembled delegates. "We propose automated peacekeeping responses triggered by specific crisis indicators, not committee votes. Trade dispute resolution will follow fixed protocols rather than political negotiations. Leadership roles will rotate based on expertise, not political influence." Many older delegates looked skeptical, but the practical benefits were clear. Without humans to mediate, the galaxy needed systems that worked automatically. As discussions continued, various factions attempted to gain advantages. The Duraxians, led by Krelvos, demanded special consideration for historically powerful species. The Vrellan delegation insisted on protections for smaller worlds. Earth representatives maintained the same position throughout. They would help establish the new system, but their political withdrawal remained permanent. Frank Nichols, now leading Earth's summit team, met with frustrated delegates daily. Some threatened Earth with economic sanctions, while others offered enormous concessions to entice humans back into the fold. Earth remained unmoved. On the 5th day, Krelvos made his move. The ambitious Doraxian politician stood before the assembly and declared, "If humanity refuses to participate, the Doraxian Empire will assume leadership of the new Confederation structure." The room erupted in protests. No one wanted Doraxian dominance. "This is precisely why the new system cannot depend on any single species," Frank responded calmly. "The moment one group gains control, others lose faith in the system." Samantha's team worked through the objections, refining the proposal based on legitimate concerns while rejecting obvious power grabs. The work was exhausting but vital. Without a functioning confederation, the galaxy faced chaos. On the summit's 10th day, a breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Envex and a coalition of younger diplomats presented their own addition to Earth's proposal, a selective engagement protocol, allowing species to participate in specific areas of galactic governance without full political commitment. "We've been inspired by Earth's approach," Envex announced. "Some issues require cooperation, but not every species needs to be involved in every decision." The idea gained surprising support. Many worlds were tired of the all-or-nothing approach to galactic politics. The protocol would allow for flexible participation based on expertise and interest. President Walsh met privately with her advisors that evening. "This wasn't what we expected," she admitted. "We thought we were designing our exit. Instead, we may be creating a completely new approach to galactic relations." "Should we be concerned?" asked Daniel, always focused on security. "If other species follow our example, the entire power structure of the galaxy could shift." Samantha smiled. "Isn't that what we wanted? A galaxy where no single group, including humans, holds too much power?" As the summit entered its third week, the new structure took shape. The old confederation would be replaced by a more flexible organization with automated crisis responses, rotating leadership, and optional participation protocols. Earth would remain connected to the galaxy through trade and cultural exchange, but would avoid entanglement in most political matters. When Trilaxar, the ancient Garlaxian delegate, finally endorsed the proposal, the remaining resistance faded. The galaxy was changing, and humanity had sparked that change simply by walking away. Humanity walked away from galactic politics and the universe freaked out. Part 5. A new paradigm. 1 year had passed since humanity's withdrawal from galactic politics. The reformed Confederation, now called the Galactic Cooperative, operated under Earth's designed systems. The universe had reluctantly adjusted to humanity's new role. Ryan Collins guided his exploration ship through uncharted space, far beyond the borders of known civilization. As a human explorer, he enjoyed the freedom that came with Earth's new position in the galaxy. His mission was simple: chart new territories and look for resources or interesting phenomena. No political complications, no diplomatic missions, just pure exploration. His ship's sensors detected something unusual: energy readings from a supposedly empty region. Ryan adjusted course to investigate. "Computer, what are we looking at?" he asked. "Unknown artificial structures detected on the third planet in this system," the computer responded. "Design does not match any known species in the database." Ryan felt a rush of excitement. First contact situations were rare these days, with most spacefaring species already known to the cooperative. As he approached the planet, more details became clear. The structures were ancient, perhaps thousands of years old, but they showed signs of recent activity. After careful scanning and following first contact protocols, Ryan landed near one of the structures. He was surprised when a message came through his communication system in perfect galactic standard. "Welcome, human explorer. We have been watching your species with great interest." The beings that greeted Ryan called themselves the Archivers. They looked vaguely humanoid, but with luminous skin that shifted colors as they spoke. Their leader, who called herself Ilara, explained their history. "Like humanity, we once participated in galactic politics," Ilara told Ryan as she showed him around their settlement. "But we withdrew over 12,000 years ago." Ryan was stunned. "You're saying we're not the first to walk away?" "Far from it," Ilara replied. "Though you are the first to cause such dramatic consequences with your departure." Most species simply fade away quietly. Your humanity made quite the statement. The archivers explained that they had discovered something important. Species that removed themselves from political entanglements tended to advance more rapidly. Free from the burden of conforming to galactic standards, they could develop in unique directions. "We've been observing since your withdrawal," Alara said. "Your scientific progress has accelerated by an estimated 30% in just 1 year." Ryan realized this was true. Without the need to make every technological advance compatible with Confederation standards, Earth's scientists had made remarkable breakthroughs. Back on Earth, Heather Brooks sat in her small office at the reformed Galactic Cooperative headquarters. As Earth's official observer and trade representative, she maintained humanity's presence without political involvement. Her role was to watch and report, not to participate in decision-making. Today she was observing Jor Lakesh, the first coordinator, elected under the new system. The tall, green-skinned diplomat was addressing the council about the recent border dispute between the Mareki and Velocians, the same conflict that had flared up when humanity first withdrew. "The automated response protocols have been activated," Jor Lakesh announced. "Peacekeeping ships are already en route and the mediation system has begun standard procedures." Heather made notes for her report back to Earth. The system was working without human intervention. In fact, it was working better than the old system ever had. Under the previous Confederation, this dispute would have required months of committee meetings before any action was taken. She noticed something else interesting. Jor Lakesh and many of the other representatives had begun adopting human-style directness in their speech. The flowery diplomatic language that had dominated Confederation proceedings was giving way to more practical communication. Problems were being stated clearly rather than hidden behind layers of politeness. Later that day, Heather met with Vex, who had become a close contact. The young diplomat had risen quickly in the new system, partly because of his association with Earth during the summit. 3 more species have adopted the Selective Engagement Protocol, Vex informed her. They're following Earth's model, maintaining trade and cultural exchange while limiting political involvement. "Is that causing problems?" Heather asked. Vex shook his head. "Quite the opposite. The new system accommodates variable participation levels, and honestly, having fewer voices in certain discussions makes decision-making more efficient." Back on Earth, President Walsh reviewed reports from both Ryan and Heather. The discovery of the archivers was particularly fascinating, proof that humanity's path wasn't unprecedented. She looked out her office window at the busy streets below. Earth had changed in the year since withdrawal. Human culture, unfettered by the need to accommodate galactic political sensibilities, had experienced a renaissance. Art, science, and philosophy flourished in ways impossible under the conformity pressures of the Confederation. Tourism had increased as well. Aliens visited Earth in record numbers, curious about the species that had turned galactic politics upside down. Many came seeking to understand the human perspective that had redesigned the entire system. Greg Harrison, the ambassador who had delivered Earth's withdrawal announcement, now served as an advisor to the president. He entered her office with the latest updates. "The economic reports are excellent," he told her. "Without the heavy Confederation regulatory burden, our trade has actually increased by 17%. "And the security situation?" the president asked. "Stable. The automated response systems have prevented 3 major conflicts already. We're watching carefully, but so far the galaxy is more peaceful than when we were actively involved." The president nodded, satisfied. "And what about the cultural impact? Heather reports that others are beginning to follow our example." Greg smiled. "It seems humanity's greatest contribution to galactic civilization wasn't our participation in politics, but demonstrating the courage to walk away from it. As other species began considering similar paths of selective engagement, the galaxy faced a fundamental transformation, not from conquest or technological breakthrough, but from the simple human decision that some games weren't worth playing." In his exploration ship, Ryan Collins prepared to return to Earth with news of the archivers. Their existence suggested that humanity had stumbled upon a pattern that repeated throughout galactic history. Perhaps walking away from politics was a natural stage of development for truly advanced civilizations. The universe had indeed freaked out when humanity withdrew. But in their panic, the other species had been forced to build something better, a system that worked without manipulation, without endless debate, and without wasting the precious lifespans of its participants. Humanity had walked away from the table, but in doing so they had changed the entire game, and the galaxy, despite its initial panic, would ultimately be better for it